The next thing we can move on to is evaluating algebraic expressions. Meaning we have some expression that has at least one variable term, and we're given a particular value to substitute in for that variable to determine the value of that expression when, in example 16, x is equal to 4. To do that, we just look at the given expression, and in this case, everywhere there's an x, we're going to replace it with a 4. Whenever I substitute, I like to put it in a set of parentheses. It helps me to see where I made those substitutions and helps to avoid making mistakes with negatives and double negatives. But in this case, we have a pretty simple example. This is going to be 4 squared. So when x is equal to 4, x squared is going to have a value of 16. In example 17, we want to do the same thing. This will be 7 times 10, since we'll plug in x equals 10 everywhere we have an x occurring, plus 6. And then we'll use order of operations to simplify that. So 7 times 10 will give us 70, plus 6, or 76. In example 18, we have the expression that we want to evaluate when x is equal to 6. So this will become 19 times 6 minus 15. Close that set of parentheses, open up the next set of parentheses, 20 times 6 again, minus 16. And then we'll use order of operations to simplify. Our first step will be to take 19 times 6 and 20 times 6, which will give us 114 minus 15 times 120 minus 16. Next, we'll work on what's inside the parentheses. So we'll subtract, which will give us 99 times 104. And our last step will be to multiply to get 10,296. In example 19, we'll repeat that same idea. Everywhere there's an x, we'll plug in 2. So we'll get 2 times 2 squared plus 19 times 2 minus 6. But then we'll pause here for just a moment to give a little bit of a refresher on a concept here, a mistake that people will make often. Whenever we have an exponent, we want to keep in mind that it only applies to whatever that exponent is directly next to. So in this first term, where we have 2 times 2 squared, the only thing that gets multiplied is that second 2. So this will become 2 times 4 plus 19 times 2 minus 6. Then we can go through and take care of those two multiplication steps to get 8 plus 38 minus 6, or 40. This is how we would evaluate those problems by hand, but for this course you'll also be welcome to use technology. That could take the form of a basic or scientific calculator, or I'm going to demonstrate using a tool called Desmos. Desmos.com is a freely available website. You can go here and click on Graphing Calculator. And then in the box on the left-hand side, we can start typing in expressions. For instance, if we go back to example 16, we could type in 4 squared. And you can do that with the keyboard or the prompts that pop up to evaluate that to get 16. In example 18, we had 19 times 6 minus 15. Make sure we close that set of parentheses and open another set. And then we'll have 20 times 6 minus 16 gives us that 10,296. And then for example 19, we had 2 times 2 squared plus 19 times 2 minus 6 gives us 40. So we should be able to evaluate things by hand, but you'll also be welcome to use a calculator, again, whether it's a basic or scientific calculator that you own, or I would recommend getting comfortable with Desmos, as it's a tool that we'll come back to throughout the semester. It's a little bit more powerful than those basic and scientific calculators, so it will be able to take care of some operations that simpler calculators wouldn't be able to tackle.